That's it. We're streaming. We'll give everyone a couple minutes to join. As always, I'm in the core universe, floating through Amazon greatness, solving problems.
We're not Brent. We're at an office.
We're in a well-lit space. I have a newly hung picture behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And Brent, you recently started CrossFit, which as a cyclist, I imagine is quite a daunting task, is it not?
Yeah, I'm the weakest person there, like by far. Yeah.
Well,
they're like, do 20 wall push-ups. I'm like, I can do like one, maybe. Like, that's all I got.
It's a competition with yourself and nobody else.
Yeah, true. Well, people are generally pretty chill. It's a good environment, but no, it's very difficult. Yeah.
Is the class in French?
Of course, yeah.
It's fun. So it's an exciting day today. If I bring up the slides here, Amazon PPC, and in the year 22,025 is the year that I wrote here. So this is PPC coming to you from the future, 2,000 years into the future. We're going to be covering a couple different topics today. Negative keywords are, of course, near and dear to my heart. I've always believed that they're the most underutilized part of Amazon PPC. Brent, you want to give a quick preview of your section?
Yeah, sure. Except if it was 22,025, it would be out of date. But basically, I'm looking forward into the future, right? Mine's just about Amazon Marketing Cloud, something I've been obsessed with the past 2.5, 3 months. And yeah, want to talk about the implications of that, how to use it, what you can get out of it. Yeah,
absolutely. And then Gonza, of course, we cannot forget profits. I feel like this is the yin and yang. We got like shiny new Amazon Marketing Cloud, but of course, we got to run a business, not just do marketing, right?
Yeah, I wonder what AMC will do to profits and DSP, because if anything, in the beginning, probably put a dent in them. But my presentation will be about actually a case study with one of our brands where we had to increase pricing radically because of the risk of running out of inventory, and that radically changed for the better the performance of the account. It did not impact sales. It did not impact conversion rate. In terms of PPC, it did not impact performance. So we had a theory of what was going to happen. It did not happen. Something else entirely happened, and I'm bringing the data today to discuss.
Cool, thank you. And if you're wondering why we have this purple background here, so a couple of years ago we started Core Community, which I would define as a private, tightly close-knit community of people who are serious about geeking out, learning more, figuring out ways to advance their Amazon advertising education. Personally, I get a ton of fulfillment out of it as I learn from people that I respect myself. And we periodically will do open enrollment weeks, where we will open up the community. And the reason we do this is to ensure that the community stays high level. There is an actual approval process where we're actually looking at and sometimes even messaging people to ensure that they are the right fit. But I get a lot of personal enjoyment from organizing it, facilitating it, being there as a member myself. Just as a pulse check, in 2024, we had about 71 total Amazon guides, meaning like SOPs or systems and things to do to improve your Amazon marketing. It's not just PPC. So everything from Amazon SEO and keyword analysis and search term analysis and profitability and Amazon Marketing Cloud, like all of these things. Basically, every week we're creating a new guide. So as of right now, there's 71 guides in there. So whatever you're looking for in terms of bidding or ranking, we likely have already given a master class on it. In 2024, there were 1,130 member posts and comments, which is pretty cool. And currently we have about 66 active members. So we have intentionally kept this sort of, exclusive. And I will also say that it's definitely not start a side hustle community. I would say it's generally intermediate and up, meaning, we're not going over a lot of the, beginner basics, like how to pick a good product or anything like that. So core community. In fact, to give you a pulse check on, the caliber of this community, I was part of the great event PPC Mastery Summit last year, and actually 25% of the presenters were core community members, which I thought was really cool. So core community, that is the sort of the caliber that is in there, and we're really proud of sort of that community that we have. Anyway, jumping into it, maybe some of you already know me, but I'm about to go and talk about my presentation. AdBadger.com, we have Amazon PPC software, of course. We have optimized about 1 million bids a day, of course, core community as well, and search scientists as well. I have a lot of experience on the Google Shopify marketing side as well. Without further ado, let me jump into my section here. My system on negative keywords. I do believe that negative keywords are the most undervalued activity in Amazon. Not only that, but I feel like there's this implied belief that negatives aren't that important. And instead, we should be talking about positive targeting, meaning how do you do your keyword research? How do you structure your positive keywords? What percentage of broad phrase exact do you have? What's your targeting split? What's your campaign split? Like all of the stuff that you're targeting gets the majority of the focus. And as a way to sort of measure that, what I started doing last year was I started digging into really high performing accounts, accounts that, spend 10, 20, 30, $50,000 a month with incredibly low ACOSs, in the 20s. And I started studying them and I noticed something that all of them had. They had a ton of negative keywords. So in one particular account that was huge, they had 41,000, positive keywords, exact phrase broad. 41,000 is a lot of keywords. They had 1.6 million negatives. That was 38 times more negatives than they had positives. So this took me down a rabbit hole where it's like, why is it that all these accounts seem to have 10, 20, 30 times more negatives than they did positives? So this is what I've learned. And I would generally say we spend way too much time thinking about the ideal blend of match types. Oh, you need this many broads, you need this many phrases, you need this many exacts, don't have this much auto. I would say, sure, that stuff matters, of course, but I would say the bigger thing that people generally forget is that the perfect match type blend is obtained when you have a lot of negatives, meaning your broads behave much better when you have a bunch of negatives. Your phrases behave much better when you have a bunch of negatives. Your autos, your category targeting, your competitor targeting, it all gets better when you have a ton of negatives. So here's a sentence that I like to ask. Brent, can you complete the sentence for us? How would you complete this? The search term report is?
Central importance is my first thing comes to my mind.
That's right. It is very important. Gonza, how would you complete this sentence?
The backbone of your weekly analysis.
Amazing. Yes. If anyone else has ideas in the chat, I'll hang out here for just a second. But yes, the search term report, the report that we use as a source of truth that is utmost important, to me, I would say inadequate, which is a strong statement. I would say that the search term report is inadequate, and I will show you why. And after you see this, I promise you, you will become a negative keyword convert, and you will begin to consider negatives with as much intensity as I do. Shall we begin? Do you think the people are ready to proceed, Brent? Yes. Okay. So this is the real account. Sponsored products only. Brent, can you read off the amount of impressions that this thing has?
17,574,857.
It's a huge account. 17 million impressions we're looking at. Now, if I download my search term report and I'm looking at my search term report, how many impressions do I find? Brent, can you read this number for the good people out there?
3,068,000, right? If I'm reading that right with a comma.
That is correct.
Okay.
So just to recap, in case you missed it, inside Amazon advertising, 17.5 million impressions. I download a search term report. I have 3 million. My friends, you only see a fraction of your total search term data. You only see 17% of your search terms in this particular account. So 17% of my search terms are shown to me, which is crazy, meaning over 80% is hidden from me, meaning I'm missing 80% of my search terms. And why are they missing? Because you only see things that got clicks. So again, same account, same time frame. I'm looking at it. I have 40,000 clicks. I go into my search term report. I have 40,000 clicks. You only see search term data for things that got clicks. You do not see search term data for things that do not get clicks, which is hopefully very eye-opening to people.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it eye-opening? Well, friends, because click-through rate is a ranking factor. Hello? Is this thing on? Click-through rate is a ranking factor. My Amazon guy, Stephen Pope, what's up, Stephen Pope, if you're watching, put together this cool infographic of how he sees SEO ranking factors. Guess what he put as his number one ranking factor? If you squint, you'll see it, click-through rate as a huge ranking factor. Go to a blog post by Stellar Labs, click-through rate, a ranking factor. I go over here to marginbusiness.com, click-through rate, a ranking factor. Click-through rate is a ranking factor, which means this click-through rate here, imagine if I trimmed out a lot of these impressions that are getting me no clicks. Wild, right? So these large accounts, number one, they're controlling their match types much better with negatives, but also they're improving their click-through rate through the roof by getting so aggressive. They're blocking things that didn't even show up in their search term report because it never got a click in the first place. It's brilliant, right? This is what we're doing. So common and uncommon ways to get more serious about negatives. Buckle up because we're going to go fast here. So the first thing when you look at your search term report, be cautious. Most of the time, you only see 7-day attribution. There's value in having an API-based app. Of course, I'm biased, but if you get 10% of your sales on days 8 to 30 after a click, you'll never see this information roll through your search term report. So that's the first thing to be cautious of. The second thing, a singular search term report only has 60 days of data, which means you're going to be missing things that have 5 clicks every month over the course of a year. That's 60 clicks with no sales. What if you have 1,000 of these search terms? It's wild. The other thing that is plagued in search term reports is low click data. When you go and look at your search term report, 95% of the search terms have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks. It's very difficult to make decisions on. And you're only seeing 17% of it. Meaning if you're only adding negatives based off data from your search term report, my friends, you're only adding negatives based off a fraction of your total search terms. So common ways to add negatives, irrelevant searches, find variations of your product that don't apply, add them as negative. Unfortunately, if it's truly irrelevant, you never got a click for it in the first place. So you actually have to be proactive about your irrelevant searches. So that's the first thing that I'll say. Block irrelevant searches before they land in your search term report. Number 2, unprofitable searches. This is the most popular thing that people do with their search term report. They go in, they say, over $30 in spend, no sales, turn to negative. And unfortunately, only a fraction of your total traffic would fit here because most of the time you don't see the search term in the first place. And most of the time, these things get like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks, and they never get to $30 in spend. They never get to $20 in spend. So generally block unprofitable searches. When is it deemed unprofitable? If you're having trouble with ACoS, it might be double your average cost per order. If you're happy with your ACoS, maybe you go all the way up to 3.5 times your average cost per order. So, this particular account, it actually found a lot. So if you have never done this activity, you might find a lot of juicy search terms that spend a lot of money that did not get sales, right? Hopefully you do this, but you do this once and then you rarely get many that cross this threshold. So you have to be even more proactive. Another reason to block would just be very low conversion rate searches, things that convert very, very poorly. 263 clicks for 2 sales, very expensive. Maybe I don't even need this in my account. And then of course, low click-through rate searches. Look at this click-through rate, 0.01, incredibly low click-through rate. Average click-through rate might be closer to 0.3, 0.2, 0.1. This is 10 times less than 0.1. So block out low click-through rate searches. Here are some other ways to do it. Funnel traffic in the right direction. You can use it to separate branded and unbranded campaigns. For example, getting ready to do more camping here in Texas. It's a great time of year to go camping. And here you see something called camping tent Coleman. Coleman could ensure that this is not triggered by camping tent by their non-branded campaign instead of triggered by their branded budget. Meaning, if you want to separate your completely new to brand, non-branded sponsored products versus your branded sponsored products, one of the easiest ways to accomplish that is to put camping tent Coleman inside a branded sponsored product. And then in your camping tent campaign, you hit it with a negative phrase, Coleman, right? So that way your non-branded sponsored products and your branded sponsored products, you know how much you're spending on them at the campaign level. So that's one option. You can also use it to separate product specific searches. For example, camping tent Coleman large. You can see here that this person, that I see some small tents here. I see some small, a 1, 2, 3, 4 person tent. I would not define as large. I'm showing up here. So this brand right here should have added negative phrase large to their campaign. Also, as I was doing the search preparing for this presentation, I don't know if this hurts you, Brent and Gonza, or the good people out there listening, but this hurts me. Look at this fourth sponsored product result, $535 product. It's not even a tent. It's
And
not
has no
even a
reviews.
tent. It's not even a tent. Oh my, if they get a click for this. So first of all, if they don't get any clicks, they'll never know. And Amazon just hates them for serving irrelevant traffic, clogging up their system. So number one, Amazon hates them. They'll never see this show up in their search term report. If they do, they're probably going to pay so much. This pains me. This pains me. Poor company over here. Filter out competitor terms from your money campaigns. So for example, your money campaigns, like the things that you're trying to rank for, like your very best campaigns that get good, consistent sales with good, consistent ACoS. If you have competitor terms sliding in there, making your money campaigns more expensive, that can kind of gunk up the system. So you could add negative phrases for a competition in your ranking campaigns, in your money campaigns, where it's like you're trying to bid and rank for something. Don't let your competitor campaigns, which you likely have a low conversion rate and low click-through rate, drag down your goals. So I hope this search is not being triggered by camping tent for these brands for sure. And I will finish with one of my favorite things, engramming. We all know about engramming. I've already mentioned this. Your problem with your search term report is that most things get very few clicks. So in a particular account, 95% of the search terms had 5 clicks or fewer. Only 5% had more than 5 clicks. So it's very hard to make decisions. But if you begin to piece together these common words, so like both of these have laundry in it, and then you analyze all the things with the word laundry in it, you could land and make some decisions on the word laundry. We talk about this in Core. I've done a couple of presentations on it, all these different ways to use it. And this is an example SOP. Feel free to take a screen cap here. This is a SOP that we have inside Core, sort of talking about that. So if you have a team member, you need to bring them up to speed on advanced negative keyword management. We take a list of the questions that people ask, and we do all this work every week. So we produce stuff like this every single week inside Core. If you enjoy this presentation, we're open this week. You can nerd out with us at corecommunity.com. All right, I'll hand it over to my dear friend Brent, who will pick us up.
Yeah, I got control of the slides. I'm all good to go. Do we give people a minute to go think about how great corecommunity.io as a website is, and they should go check it out? We got the countdown timer. We got everything. We got the stats on how many people are actually in the community actively. And when we say active, we're measuring it like, what is it, monthly active users? Like, well, who's actually logging in? That's not a false number there. That's who's actually jumping in and participating. Oh, thank you. Yes, good job there. Yeah, all right, cool. So I'll dive into AMC. You know, aiming for this to take about 15 minutes. Stay tight on time here, so Gaunt's has got a lot of time to expand too. And this is something, guys, that I am really excited about. So I have done several presentations in Core over the past 2-3 months about AMC. And so I wanted to roll up a teeny bit of that knowledge and stick that into this 15 minutes and encapsulate it. The reason I think this is important to talk about is when I go to events, when I speak to sellers on sales calls, it's actually very few people know what AMC is. And it's kind of shocking to me because Amazon's made a big stink about it. They made a lot of noise about it since October of last year. Now, AMC has been around since 2021, or maybe it was early 2022. So it's been around for some years. But the reason that Amazon started making more noise about it at the end of last year is at their Unboxed event in October, they announced that they were making it available for everyone. Previously, AMC was just for people that were spending on DSP, and really, you know, mating those Amazon tools together was kind of how they envisioned it. Now they are really pushing hard to get everyone using AMC, regardless of if you're spending on DSP or not. You know, that's not so important now. They're trying to roll it out to everybody. And AMC basically is providing a level of analytics and audience creation that we haven't had on Amazon so far to date. And that's why I wrote here as a subheader, analytics and audiences available nowhere else. And those are the two things I'm going to talk about, right? Analytics, audience. Those are the two tines of the fork that AMC provides. So let me jump in. First of all, who am I? Actually, let me get to that. Yeah, my name is Brent. I'm one of the founders of Core. I've been working with PPC since 2012. I founded my current company, AMC Pathfinder, in 2015. And we're about 24, 25 people who are mostly EU based, and we work with North American and European accounts. I live in France personally, so this is evening time for me here. I think some of you attending are probably also in my time zone or somewhere similar. So good evening to you. And yeah, I'm really into cycling. So if there's anything you remember about me, yeah, cycling is probably the biggest one. So what is AMC? Let's start with like a definition. I'm going to move a little bit slower than Mike, but stick with me here because this is fairly technical. So AMC is basically a dashboard where you can go in and query a series of data sets that are related to your Amazon advertising efforts. So if someone has touched your ads somehow through Amazon's ad ecosystem, then their data is put into this aggregated database. And if there's a sufficient number of them, you can query it. So you're basically looking at conversion signals and actions and events and clicks and impressions across all these different Amazon platforms in one like unified area. And that allows you to do those analytics and audiences. Those are the two big things to take away. So the way I kind of see AMC is it's like a bit of like a role-playing situation. Like you can make your own adventure. It's like, what do we want to learn about Amazon ads today? What do we want to learn about our audience today? Well, if you have the right SQL skills or you use the built-in templates, which we'll get to, you can actually learn a tremendous amount. So in that way, I kind of find it fun to like wander through the data. So a good example is like what ad products that Amazon offers work best for you, in what order, for what placements, against what audiences. You can start to stack these questions on top of each other to get at these like business questions. The way I kind of see AMC is it allows us to fill in the rest of this. So what is this? This is like a piece of artwork, like a mosaic, right? It's made of these colored tiles. And right now I feel like when I look at the data inside of an account, or I talk to a client, or I look at something that one of my senior account managers is working on, we have a picture that looks a lot like this. It's like, well, we see some of the tiles, but we don't see everything. So how do we actually fill in the rest of this picture with more tiles to create a composite image that, okay, now I can see it. It's an elephant. Before I could only see the top half and the bottom half, and I didn't know what the heck it was. So that's how I see AMC kind of fitting into the ecosystem. Now, let me make another argument for why it actually matters. So in my view, normal ads is not enough on its own. I mean, Mike just reminded me of something really important, which is that you can only see the people that have clicked in the search term report, which I knew, but haven't thought about in years. And it's like, oh yeah, duh, only 17% right of that huge data set. So there's that one thing. It's no longer enough. The second thing, we're asking larger business questions now. The level of complexity on Amazon is increasing. People are getting much more serious, and they need to ask larger business questions about having multiple touch points across ads in many places. Amazon has opened up access to all advertisers. So now is a time for you, as someone who is probably not spending on Amazon DSP, to jump in with both feet and try this AMC thing out. And right now, nobody knows what the hell this is. So, like I said, when I talk to people at events, no one has any idea what AMC is. If they do, they have a vague idea. So now is the time to use it to get an advantage. This is a competitive edge you can get. So I wanted to do some, show and tell for what it actually looks like. This is the AMC dashboard. So when you're logged into Amazon Ads, if you navigate on the left side there, you can pop up, and if you have access to it, you can see AMC, like you can see reports or creative, that other stuff that's on the left side. This is just like a very simple example where you have what's called instructional queries. So to use AMC, you need to use what's almost like a programming language called SQL. Basically what that is a language for querying a database. You don't have to be an expert in SQL to use AMC these days. They're making it easier and easier to use. So you can actually click one of these instructional queries and it'll fill out a lot of that querying language for you. You just give it some basic parameters like, I want to look back 30 days. I want to look back 60 days. I want to look at these ASINs, and it'll fill it in for you. So it's possible to use this even if you're not technical. But I will say, you need someone on your team or work with a partner or a software company that is technical to use it long term. So this is the scary part, right? This is what the query editor actually looks like. And those data definitions on the left side is what I just mentioned in the chat that Slobodan, you asked a question about. If you actually expand some of these, you can see things like impressions and conversions and when they happened. There's probably a couple hundred pieces of data in there you can query. So that's what it looks like. Here's the first use case we'll go over. Analytics for smart decision making. I'm going to give just two examples really quick. The first one here, path to conversion. So what journey did a customer take? What digital journey did they take to get to your product to make a purchase? This is one of the big business questions we can try to answer with AMC. What's the first touch point they had? Was it a DSP ad? Was it sponsored display? Did they come to you from like Prime Video and see a video there? That's possible with advertising on DSP. Or was it just, hey, they saw sponsored brands. 2 days later, they saw sponsored ads. They clicked on that. They bought. Okay, cool. That's a pretty simple path to conversion. Maybe that's how it works. The reality is most people who are shoppers who have bought from you are not exposed to one ad. The majority of them are hit by different ads inside of the Amazon ecosystem. And maybe they heard about you from some other advertising you did off platform before that. So we're trying our best to track that. And this is what a report looks like for path to conversion. This is something that we've made internally with Pathfinder, but basically what I want to demonstrate here for this particular account is the path to conversion. The first one here with the three bar graphs, sponsored products, sponsored brands, and sponsored display. That's the order that people took. And that is like the total revenue there. You can see that's the highest one. So a lot of people are coming to us for this account in that order. The second one's pretty interesting, actually. This is DSP. So this is actually people who are doing repeat purchases because we're doing retargeting to them. And you can see that the number of total revenue and repeat revenue is the same. And then we have a couple others like sponsored brands, sponsored products. There's one there that starts with DSP, sponsored display, and then goes sponsored products. And that's $7,200 some right there. So you can see from that example that DSP is the first touch point. That's how people are learning about this brand. This kind of information you can't get anywhere else. Only by using AMC queries and stitching it together yourself to visualize can you start to understand this. The second and final one I'll do for the analytics is new to brand. So how many people that come through your advertising are new? Of those, which campaigns do you run that are actually the best at driving new to brand sales? And I'll pause for a moment to just say, sponsored brands has had that new to brand percentage calculation inside of the ad console for a while, but sponsored products has never had that. Inside of AMC, you can get new to brand information at a keyword level for sponsored products, which is something you absolutely can't do with other data sources. So that's something that we've been experimenting with. So basically, what is the gateway ASIN? I was going to say gateway drug, but we don't want to call it that. The gateway ASIN that someone uses to get into your brand. Let's say that you have a product that is like $250, but maybe you have a $35 one. Maybe they have a good experience with a $35 product and they say, you know what, this brand's great. 2 months later, they buy the $250 one. Do we have data to support that? With AMC, yeah, you can start to understand those things over a long enough time period. So this is new to brand, and these are ASINs here, right? So we're looking at, of the total users, these first 2 ASINs, you can see these are the gateway ones, right? These, this is for a different account that is consumable, right? So people will buy sometimes several things in the lineup. But for these first 2, you can see a lot of those purchases are new to brand. Those are big sellers in general, but those are also the big ones that are new to brand. And then they also have a good number of repeats too. You can do this analysis any number of ways. This is just one way to look at it through ASIN. Another analysis you can do is time. So how long does it take in terms of time? Next one, building high impact audiences. And I see there's a question in the comments too, Christian.
Yeah, I was gonna
AMC,
say.
Yeah, AMC is available in EU as well. Yes. AMC is available, I think, almost everywhere. Maybe the only ones they're excluding is like some of the Middle East markets or something like that as they come online. But yeah, it's definitely available in the EU. Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. So building high impact audience. This is use case number 2 of the 2 we're talking about here. So Amazon has, if you've ever used like a sponsored display campaign, most of the people here, if you're technical, you've probably built one. Amazon has a lot of these like basic audiences you can do, like people that have like are into dogs, or like people that have bought a car in the last 30 days or something like that. They have tons of these random audiences. So instead of relying on those, you can build your own with AMC, and then from the AMC interface, you push it to either sponsored ads or DSP. You can just tell it which way to go, and then 24 to 48 hours later, it shows up in there. It's the parameters and the specifics of that audience which are really important, though. So here is the example I give here. This is one that we built for a DSP audience. And what we did is just build a lookalike audience. So you say, here's the name. We want a lookalike for this ASIN for people that are similar. There's a couple settings you can do, like most similar, most broad. We chose similar in this instance. Last 30 days, put in the ASINs. You can sometimes even refine it with keywords. So you have both keyword and ASINs, and then it'll spit out an audience. If that audience is sufficiently large, you can target it through DSP, you can target it through sponsored display, or you can set a bid modifier for it inside the sponsored products. So you can actually bid more for it. This is what it looks like inside of AMC. These are just various audiences we've created. And you can see the sizes here are anywhere from 24,000 up to 303,000, which is like obviously much bigger. And this is a combination of people that have added things to cart, search terms that people have searched for. Yeah, those are basically the 2 that we have here. And then when you're actually in DSP, you can see the audiences. They just pop up like this, and they're custom built is what the category is called. You can filter by that. Similarly, this one people are probably more familiar with. There's an audiences, I guess it's like a sub tab. They changed the name of it recently inside of the campaign. And you can go there and say, I want to bid 25% more for this audience when they see this, because this is the one I identified. And then the last one here, yeah, it actually looks like this. Yeah, so you say, here's the percentage we want to increase it based on this audience we created in AMC. This is something we're experimenting with. Everyone's really excited about it. So last thing, implementation. I'll go quickly over this. How do you actually get access to AMC? The good news is it's free, right? Actually, getting access to AMC doesn't cost you any money. What costs you money is having someone on the team that can actually do the SQL queries or is competent to work with the data, because the data you get out of it is like quite large and quite raw. So you need a way to format and visualize it. And you can work with any number of companies to do it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to drop any specific names, but work with your partner or tool of choice. Ask them if they can get you set up with AMC. That's probably the best move. Or just talk to your Amazon rep. If you have a large enough account, you probably have a rep you speak with sometimes, and they get us set up for you. Amazon is like super focused right now on getting as many AMC instances rolled out as they can. I have heard this directly from our agency rep. He is like very excited about this. The Amazon really wants to make this big. So the future, what does the future hold? First thing, more data sources are going to be added to AMC. Amazon is always doing little press releases, saying things in like their email bulletins and stuff. Yeah, we added this new data set. We added that new data set. We added this other one. There's some in AMC you can actually pay to get. We haven't experimented with those because they're fairly expensive. But if you have the budget for that, you can add those in, and Amazon will add them to your data source. Like I said, they're pushing really hard to get everyone to do this. And they're also expanding that query library. So I mentioned earlier, you need to write in SQL, but they have these sets of queries that are like the most common ones you might use, and you don't need to use the complicated SQL language to do that. You can just put in those templates, change a couple things, hit run. 24 to 48 hours later, you're going to get either analytics results or a new audience. And it's really great. I mean, that's the best place to start. So they have like 40 plus of them now. They're adding new ones all the time. They're making it more and more easy with a less barrier to entry. So the final thing I'll say about the future is first-party data. If you as a brand have any data from off Amazon channels, it's easier and easier to add that into AMC. So not only do you have Amazon's data, but now you have your first-party data that you own, and you do encrypt it before you upload it. So Amazon can't see it, but when it's put in the database, it combines it together. So essentially that will allow you to add your own information in, and then that makes a real special soup, right? Because you have data from both angles. I could do a whole presentation just about that. It's very complicated at the moment, but this is one of the most exciting things, like looking forward into AMC. So that's it. Lightning round on AMC. It's a very complex topic, and yeah, happy to field more questions about it. I just want to say one last thing, which is that I'm going to be starting a DSP and to some extent AMC mastermind inside Core this year, because I'm really, really focused on DSP and AMC, and I want to dive deep on these topics with anyone who comes in and is interested. We're not going to meet as frequently as, yeah, Gonza's definitely interested. We're not going to meet as frequently as we do for our weekly call, because we do a Wednesday weekly call at Core. We'll probably do it twice a month or once a month, depending. But that is something I'm going to run. Is going to be very specific to DSP. So if you're interested in that, come join us. We'd love to see you there.
Yeah, DSP and AMC for us is the biggest focus for the year, I would say. So yeah, I think the minimum would be once every 15 days, I think, Brent, because yeah, I'm just interested in and excited to see how people use it, because there's no limit. It's just what you ask Amazon, the data that you want to use and
right.
to get and how to use it. I think it's going to be
pretty much your imagination and your ability to write SQL is the two things that are limiting you. So if you got someone that's good at that,
already
you have a
things
vivid imagination.
I have a long list of things that I would like to know, more than I know what to do stuff with, but I have a list already.
Cool. So we got to join the mastermind.
All right. So I'm going to talk about profits, and actually a very interesting example of how higher prices can trigger bigger sales, almost by accident, which is what happened with one of our brands. But definitely profit and profitability in general with Amazon is an issue for most sellers. If you're a seller and you're watching this, this might be a great part of the presentation for you, just to trigger some thoughts and for you to go and maybe test a few things with either your brand or at least one of the products that you sell. If you advise sellers, if you're an agency owner or you're part of an agency and you advise sellers, I'm pretty sure that the profit discussion is part of your weekly routine, and this is something that at least you might be able to bring into a conversation and discuss with your customers. So my name is Gonza. For those that don't know me, I'm an 8-figure e-commerce brand owner. I founded Sire Square 3 years ago to start and grow consumer product brands. We have a big focus on operation and be at the forefront of operational skills, I would say. And we're trying to navigate the ever-growing complexities of Amazon and e-commerce in general. I'm super passionate about developing brands, developing products, and also everything related to finances, like cash flow, capital, and all those things, which, if you ask me, very few sellers really have a passion for that. And that's always been kind of, I don't know. I always ask why, right? So in terms of profits and challenges in general, the brands on Amazon, and I put 2024 and 2025 because we were struggling with this last year also, but I don't see 2025 being any easier. We've had increased FBA fees not on the fulfillment part, but in general, everything related to returns and reimbursements. It has become more and more expensive to do business with Amazon, not only, but with Amazon. We have increased Amazon AWD fees. We are being charged fees that they told us in the beginning that we were not going to be charged, and that happened. Ocean freight is becoming more expensive, and it has in the last 6 months. Tariffs, it's, I guess, the topic of the moment. Increased 3PL costs. Our 3PLs, they have increased their costs by 25-30%, in some cases even more. We have a lot more Chinese suppliers that they cut us on costs, because they're, in many instances, they are the factory, so they have a margin there that when we buy from them, we have to pay. There's a lot more opportunistic sellers that they come into a category, they target your product with just a low cost version of it, and that kind of sets the price point of the category, and then it drops. It's kind of a race to the bottom for everybody else. We always talk about the increased cost of advertising within core. CPC, a lot more tools. It gets more expensive. The dependency on PPC has grown to sell and to rank. So, I mean, we have reduced inventory reimbursement dollars, because now they're reimbursing us based on FOB costs and not the actual cost of the product. And we have less product level and less account level profitability as a result of all of this. I haven't talked to a seller that is not facing this, or a brand that is not facing this. So this very complex and amazing graphic shows. I put 2021. It could be 2014 if you want, but profit has been dropping, and it will continue to drop further. Supply chain issues that I mentioned, MSRP pressure, which is what I just said. It's the price is being dropped just to get more sales, especially Chinese suppliers, and something that it's affecting, I think, Amazon as a platform. The commoditization of products, they have become commodities, right? Where a lot of the products, I would say maybe 70% of what we buy on Amazon are products that don't really add a lot of value, right? They're just a copy of something else, and it's good for consumers. That's what Amazon wants, right? To have a platform where people come and find cheap stuff. And but for us sellers, it's a major challenge. I'm gonna try to go through this very quickly, but this is pretty much what happened in the last few years. This is how the channel has matured. It was, if you were an early adopter, you were making money. It was low in complexity. The reward was very high. That attracted other people right into the marketplace. The marketplace continued to grow. That fueled a rapid expansion of it. Whenever that happens, capital is raised very quickly and it comes to the platform. That created a boom. I think that happened between 2020, 2021. The pandemic really helped with the boom, and that attracts more competition. And that had Amazon also had to grow their real estate, their operations. That became more expensive for them to do business. That was translated to us, or transferred to us. And now we're in a place, I think, right now where the complexity is very high, or at least it has grown, and the reward is not as big as those early years, right? In terms of margin, that is. So that resulted in the loss of profitability. And I think moving forward, a lot of these people will, or these brands, they will exit because of, the shrinking profits. And we have to adapt to stay and stay in the game, but evolve in terms of how we do business. This is a great example of what I was referring to. I don't even know if any of you is the seller of these products, I'm sorry, but it's just to exemplify that right now, if I want a cable organizer, I go out on Amazon and I find this, the ones on the top for $15 or $16, and then I find these others. that offer, I don't know, I can't even count, how many pieces are there included in that kit, but for the same price. And, this is, as I said before, a race to the bottom. Same with the very famous or infamous silicone spatula. I love yeah, same thing, right? So these are all sellers. In many cases, they are brands, right? In some other cases, they're just single product sellers or 2-3 product sellers trying to capitalize on the opportunities of, in this case, Zulai Kitchen that sells 10,000 of this every month. And you look at a brand like this, and it is a brand, obviously, in terms technically, right? It's a brand, but it's built on single product opportunities. And I think those are the ones that are suffering more, instead of the ones that are really focused on building brands around their consumers. This is a great example of that. This is a pet brand that exploded 4 or 5 years ago. It sold already to an aggregator for something like $750 million. But they built this brand around the avatar. They really understood what cat and pet owners struggle with, or what their concerns were, and they created a portfolio of products around those needs. These products did not exist as is on the platform. They were an Amazon exclusive brand, and they were able to grow because they pretty much set a category price at the top end of it. No one was selling these products, and then now you have a bunch of sellers copying those products, and none of them are making the same profit, right? Obviously. So for us, or for me, a product is defined by one or multiple products, or an entire brand, like I showed before, without a customer-centric, unique selling proposition. It's just an exercise on what product is good to launch on Amazon. Can I make money on it? I buy it, I source it from China, I sell it. And that's what's causing the issue. And I think if you ask me, in 2026, 2027, many of those sellers will probably die. So I'm going to show you by a case that accidentally we escaped the price sensitivity on Amazon to increase profit, sales, et cetera, et cetera. So we sell a product with a median price point of $69 or $70, $69.99, right? This is a traditional yearly price strategy that we use. Our mean price is $69.99. That's the price at which we are at most of the time. But then we raise it before the high traffic events, just to be able to run Prime exclusive discounts or coupons, and be at least 20-25% below our WASP price, right? That reduces sales velocity. We lose BSR when we do that, like prior to one of these events. Our ACOS climbs, our conversion rate drops, and we do it by $10, right? Then we get that BSR boost and our ACOS back down because of the high traffic events, which lasts for maybe a month or two. Then prior to something like Black Friday, we try the same approach where we lose sales velocity, we lose BSR, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then Q4, like November and December, we sell around 30%, 28% higher than our average price point. And because of the increased velocity of December in particular, we get away with it. Our conversion rate is even better than when we are at $69.99. I think this is a traditional price strategy for most sellers, right? But the key factor here is to understand that when we raise our price to $89.99, when we go into January and we try to keep it, the results are not great, and we start losing velocity very quickly. And by mid-month, we need to come back to maybe $69.99 just to avoid disaster, right? So this is what happened. We were running out of inventory last year. We did the entire year the same. We did not have a good 2024 compared to 2023 for this product for a big number of reasons, inventory being one of them. But moving into Q4, we were really short on inventory, and also some of the inventory was stuck between AWD and FBA, so it wasn't really available for the holidays. So we started raising the prices just to kind of mitigate that. And we didn't want to go out of stock and lose all ranking and stuff like that. So we started seeing that 57%, not 28%, over our median price point, velocity started to climb. We were really producing very good numbers at a KPI level, in terms of conversion rate, CTR, etc. But it was December, and we thought, okay, come next month, 2025, this is not going to hold, right? Because we've never been this expensive, and it's going to be disastrous. So the hypothesis, what I thought was going to happen, a heavy decrease in sales velocity at 109 in the first month of the year, big drop in BSR, big drop in organic rank. CTR, obviously, I was thinking, okay, people will not click on the product because it's so expensive, and mind you, the competition is maybe at $59.99, right? We were at 69. We're already more expensive than the competition. So I said, well, maybe that saves us money, right? Because people are not clicking. We lose traffic, but we don't pay for it. And then a big drop in CVR in conversion because of the price point. That's normally the case. Big increase in ACoS as a result, right? And ad types that are normally low converting, we thought they're going to really die off, and we did not know what this would result in terms of profit. So what really happened was that our entire portfolio, we increased pricing, not just this product, and many of them are in variation with this product. So we did not lose that. This is 2023. Sorry, this is 2023 on the top. You have 2024 and 2025. So our price was, as I said, like 30% higher than 2023 and 2024. We lost some, but not much in terms of units sold. If you add all the variations, it's only 20% less or 18% less. Our CTR actually climbed to 0.6, meaning people were intentionally, they had a higher intention to buy a more expensive product than the year prior. And yes, our conversion rate did drop, but not to the point that it would hurt profitability. And as a result, and we pretty much replicated the ad spend strategy, the advertising strategy in terms of conversion, awareness, consideration was pretty much the same year after year. So the results were that from $90 to $110, our CTR climbed. Our CVR, as I said, dropped, but only marginally. The total CVR dropped by 20%, yes, but our profit margin climbed from 4% on January last year to 20% this year. And the account profit ended being 358% higher. And the number that I live by, which is return on capital, because we're investing money to buy these products, to sell them, increased by 390%. This is important because we had in 2023, we had at that month, we had a return of on capital of 53%. And that was a 12% margin. In 2024, it was 22% because we had a very low margin. But this year, we had a return on capital of 86%. And we closed the month at 21% margin with, again, a small reduction in sales velocity, which actually is a welcome. We welcome that because we're using less capital to produce more money. So it doesn't hurt us. It's way better for a company that's capital intensive. I think this was possible, and we still need to analyze the data. But again, I urge you guys to those are our sellers in the call to try this with one or two products. We think our brand, our products, our listings, every asset that we produce, video, photo, we're able to tell our customers a story of a higher end brand through a considerably higher price point than our competitors. And this perception, we're able to keep the perception throughout all the stages of the funnel. And I guess it was solidified by the products when they arrived in the hands of the consumers, because our packaging is really nice, the products are really nice. Therefore, we did not have returns, which is an issue when you sell at a much higher price point. And I think I'm using a, yeah. So what's next for the brand is based on this, and we're still at this high of a price point in February, and we're having a very good month as well. So it's sustained. So the brand will invest heavily in developing higher end products. We're developing based on unique selling proposition, developing products and investing in products that others are not selling. And then also we're not testing Amazon's market fitness for the product that much, because at the price points that we're trying to launch products, there's very little on Amazon. And we're going to invest also heavy on the marketing effort of Amazon, which is what we think will pay off.
Gonza, if it's all right, before we wrap up,
Yeah.
could you do some rapid fire questions? I know that all of these questions could go on for many minutes of an answer, but
sure.
just quick. What's the timing of the increases before the sale events? Can you say off the?
Yeah, it has to be over 35 days because of the WAS price of 30 days.
Thank you.
Just to be safe. Yeah.
Cool. What about this one? Would this be impactful
for products that are 5 to 7 times cheaper than this example? Yes, we have another brand that it's consumables, and we have a product that we're selling at $29.99, and others are selling it at $14. And it still applies. You still and you have more money to spend on ads. So again, everything is testable. I don't know, every product is different, but yeah.
And shout out Maria here. I know this is you could do an hour presentation on this question.
Yeah.
What pricing strategy would you suggest?
But there is a 20-second answer for this one, Maria, because CTR is so important. Like Mike said, a high and CTR in some cases drops with high prices, not in ours, but in some cases. You need to test different price points, I would say, just to test what the CTR and the conversion rate are. But at launch, you need sales velocity and conversion rate. Those are your two biggest goals. And since you don't have reviews and you're not ranked organically, high price points might not be the right way to launch. But you can always try you can always try a slightly higher price point if you're going to reinvest that money in heavier PPC, which is what you're going to need at launch.
Thank you, Gonza.
Awesome.
So Gonza, I always love the opportunity whenever you present Inside Core because you bring that seller perspective. You can tell by the amount of engagement that this got. There's definitely a need for that, right? Seasoned sellers sharing sort of tales from the battlefield. So absolutely appreciate you. And I love when you come on board and you discuss, these business finances and that component. Wanted to finish here in the last minute and just sort of repeat that we do this every single week, whether we're presenting or someone from the community is presenting, or we bring in a guest to do a presentation. I'm a huge fan of Core Community. And of course, I'm biased, but we open up enrollment just for a week periodically. Last time we did it was summer of 2024. So we're opening it up again. And final words, Brent?
No, it's just that I think we love to get a couple new select members in and grow the community. We have different classes of people that come in to say, like, this is class 3, this is class 4. It's kind of like waves, think of it as like waves of people joining. And you get a badge for that when you're in there, and it's kind of like you're part of this class. We do a introductory call. We try to get to know everyone really well and get them set up in the community, and make sure to like build a habit of coming into it and using it. So we're getting better about those things too, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gonza, final words here.
Final words, because I was looking at some of the comments, and I see some sellers. We want more sellers. There's a lot of our members are highly intelligent PPC nerds, and we want more sellers to discuss stuff about inventory and capital and things like that. That would be highly appreciated.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, thank you so much for attending. If you made it all the way here, you would absolutely love what we do every week. And of course, there's the forum as well, where, once I saw that number for 2024, I was like, dang, we had 1,100 posts and comments. So thank you all for tuning in. Brent, Gonza, I love you guys. Have a good one, and we'll do open enrollment in another couple months probably. But hopefully I see you inside Core. Looking forward.
All right.
Thank you,
Thanks
everyone.
all for attending. Much appreciated. See you in Core.
See you in Core.